American homeowners in their 50s and 60s, August closes the window on 14 healing herbs your garden forgot generations ago. Not because you failed to notice, because nobody ever showed you what her garden actually grew. And these 14 herbs replace hundreds in yearly supplement costs. Before plant number 1, drop your state right now, because your USDA zone completely changes which of these performs best for you. Find yours and pay attention. And the one at number 9, kept to themselves and neighbors since your great-grandmother's time, this changes everything. Plant number 1, elderberry. 1 jar of elderberry syrup costs $18 at the store, and a case runs well past $200 a year. Your great-grandmother's single backyard bush replaced that purchase permanently every autumn for generations. Picture deep purple-black clusters hanging heavy over arching canes in the backyard corner, ready for harvest, just as the first cool morning of fall arrives. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun, moist soil. Most growers never learn elderberries must be cooked before use, since raw berries carry natural compounds unsafe in quantity. Documented by University Extension, Herbal monographs. Cooked elderberry has carried traditional seasonal wellness use across American households for well over a century. A properly dried and cooked batch from one mature bush replaces roughly $240 in yearly store-bought syrup. The mistake most American growers make is harvesting too early, before clusters fully darken and drop their green stems. That single early harvest wastes an entire season's yield, costing the full $240 right back. So that single backyard bush, cooked and stored correctly, becomes a permanent replacement for one of the most expensive seasonal supplements on the shelf. But elderberry is not the herb most American growers get wrong the worst. The next one on this list is planted in nearly every yard. Drop your state in the comments right now. Your USDA zone completely changes which of these 14 herbs performs best for you. And somewhere in this video is the story of a woman in Ohio who inherited a garden nobody in her family understood anymore. That story is coming. Keep watching. Plant number 2, Calendula. A 4-ounce jar of Calendula salve runs $14 at a wellness shop, yet one packet of seed produces hundreds of blooms across a single American growing season. Picture layered orange-gold petals opening fully in the morning sun, soft and warm against the deep green foliage surrounding the garden bed. Zones 2 through 11, grown as an annual full-sun, well-drained soil. Almost nobody realizes calendula petals must fully open before harvest, since a closed bloom holds far less traditional resin content. Documented by University Extension monographs, calendula oil carried traditional skin, soothing use on American farms long before the wellness aisle existed. One season of properly timed blooms, infused into oil, replaces close to $160 in yearly salve purchases. The mistake most growers make is picking too early, before petals relax open in full sun. That timing error cuts infusion strength nearly in half, wasting the harvest. So one packet of calendula seed, harvested at the right hour, becomes a permanent salve supply. Most Americans still pay full price for every single month. But the next herb on this list looks almost too delicate to matter, and that is exactly why most growers underestimate what it actually replaces. Have you ever grown calendula directly in your garden? Not in a pot. Drop it below. Plant number 3, German chamomile. A box of chamomile tea bags costs $6 for 20 servings, yet one small garden patch produces enough dried flower for an entire year of nightly tea. Picture tiny white daisy blooms swaying above feathery green foliage, golden centers catching the last light before evening harvest. Zones 2 through 11. Grown as an annual full sun, well-drained soil. Most growers never realize chamomile must dry fully in shade, since direct sun strips the flower's delicate traditional resin within hours. Documented by University Extension monographs, chamomile carried traditional calming and digestive use across American households for generations. One properly dried patch replaces close to $70 in yearly tea purchases, brewed fresh nightly instead. The mistake most growers make is drying flowers on a sunny windowsill instead of a shaded rack. That single mistake browns the bloom and destroys most of its traditional value. So one shaded rack and a single patch of chamomile becomes a nightly tea supply most Americans still buy in boxes every single month. But if you are watching and not yet subscribed, here's what that actually means. YouTube will stop putting content like this in your feed entirely, not slow it down. Stop. Did you believe chamomile was only ever a store-bought tea bag? Be honest in the comments. Plant number 4, Feverfew. A bottle of Feverfew capsules runs $20 for a single month supply, yet one small border planting produces enough leaf for years of use. Picture clusters of tiny white daisy blooms nodding above bushy green foliage, bright yellow centers catching the afternoon sun along the garden edge. Most growers never realize Feverfew leaves hold the most traditional value just before the plant flowers fully. Documented by University Extension monographs, Feverfew carried traditional migraine and tension related use across American farmhouses for generations. A single border planting, harvested at the right stage, replaces close to $240 in yearly capsule purchases. The mistake most growers make is waiting until full bloom to harvest the leaf. That delay weakens the leaf's traditional strength and wastes a full season's supply. So one properly timed harvest turns a single Feverfew border into years of supply most Americans still buy monthly in capsule form. But the next herb on this list carries a warning almost nobody mentions alongside its benefit, and skipping that warning is a mistake with real consequences. Plant number 5, St. John's wort. A bottle of St. John's wort tincture costs $25 for a small supply, yet one established patch produces enough flower for years of tincture making. Picture bright yellow star-shaped blooms clustered along slender stems, catching full sun across the garden border in midsummer. Zones 3 through 8. Full sun, well-drained soil. Most growers never realize this herb carries documented interactions with common prescription medications, making a doctor conversation essential first. Documented by University Extension monographs, St. John's wort carried traditional mood, supporting use across American households for over a century. One established patch, harvested correctly, replaces close to $300 in yearly tincture purchases. The mistake most growers make is skipping that medical conversation before starting use. That oversight carries real risk, not just wasted money. So one established patch, handled with the right precaution, becomes a permanent tincture supply most Americans still pay full price for monthly. But the next herb on this list was kept in nearly every American medicine cabinet before pharmacies existed, and almost nobody grows it correctly today. Have you ever grown St. John's wort directly in your garden? Plant number 6, Yarrow. A small tin of Yarrow salve costs $16 at a specialty shop, yet one established clump spreads across a border and produces enough leaf for years of use. Picture flat white clusters swaying above feathery green foliage, standing tall along the garden edge through the heat of midsummer. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun, well-drained soil. Most growers never realize Yarrow's traditional strength depends on lean, dry soil, since rich wet ground weakens its resin content significantly. Documented by University Extension monographs, Yarrow carried traditional wound care use across American homesteads for well over a century. One established clump, harvested correctly, replaces close to $190 in yearly salve purchases. The mistake most growers make is over fertilizing yarrow like a typical garden flower. That single mistake dilutes the leaf and wastes most of the season's traditional value. So one lean, dry clump of yarrow becomes a permanent wound care salve supply. Most Americans still pay full price for every season, but the next herb on this list sat in nearly every American kitchen window for generations, and almost nobody realizes its full traditional value beyond the dinner plate. Plant number 7, sage. A jar of dried culinary sage costs $7 for a few tablespoons, yet one woody shrub produces enough leaf for years of both kitchen and traditional use. Picture soft silvery green leaves catching afternoon light along upright woody stems, textured and fragrant near the kitchen door. Zones 4 through 10. Full sun, well-drained soil. Most growers never realize sage needs yearly pruning back hard, since untrimmed shrubs turn woody and lose most traditional leaf quality within a few seasons. Documented by University Extension monographs, sage carried traditional throat and digestive use across American homes for well over a century. One properly pruned shrub replaces close to $100 in yearly dried herb purchases, kitchen and remedy combined. The mistake most growers make is letting sage grow untouched year after year. That neglect turns the shrub woody and sharply reduces its traditional leaf value. So one hard yearly pruning turns a single sage shrub into a permanent supply. Most Americans still buy in small jars every month. Kitchen and remedy combined, cost eliminated for good. That story I mentioned earlier at the very start of this video about the woman in Ohio is coming up right now. Earlier at the start of this video, I mentioned a woman in Ohio. This is that story. She inherited her grandmother's Zone 6 farmhouse property with a garden nobody in the family could name, spending nearly $400 a year on supplements before a university extension agent walked the beds with her and identified sage, yarrow, and calendula still thriving from decades of untouched growth. That single Zone 6 garden now replaces her entire $400 yearly supplement budget permanently, without a single repurchase ever again. If you are still watching right now, this next plant is exactly why I made this video. Not for the algorithm, for the grower who genuinely stayed until here. And plant number 8 is one most American nurseries quietly stopped selling correctly years ago. Plant number 8, rosemary. A small jar of dried rosemary costs $6 for a few tablespoons, yet one established shrub produces enough fragrant leaf for years of kitchen and traditional use combined. Picture narrow, deep green needles catching afternoon light along upright, woody stems, standing evergreen near the garden path through every season. Zones 7 through 10. Full sun, well-drained soil. Most growers never realize rosemary needs light yearly shaping, since an unshaped shrub grows woody at the center and loses leaf density within a few years. Documented by University Extension monographs, rosemary carried traditional memory and circulation, supporting use across American homes for generations. One properly shaped shrub replaces close to $120 in yearly dried herb purchases, kitchen and remedy combined. The mistake most growers make is letting rosemary grow untouched season after season. That neglect hollows the center and cuts the shrub's usable yield. So one light yearly shaping turns a single rosemary shrub into an evergreen supply. Most Americans still buy in small jars every month, kitchen and remedy combined. But the next herb on this list grows so aggressively that most nurseries warn against it, without ever explaining why serious growers plant it anyway. What plant in your yard has defeated every single thing you have tried? Drop it below. Plant number 9, Comfrey. A tube of Comfrey ointment costs $18 at a wellness shop, yet one established root clump produces enough broadleaf for years of salve making. Picture large, coarse green leaves, drooping beneath clusters of purple-pink bellflowers, spreading thick along the garden's back border. Zones 4 through 9. Full sun to partial shade. Moist soil. Most growers never realize Comfrey is strictly for external use only, since its traditional application has always been topical, never taken internally. Documented by University Extension monographs, Comfrey carried traditional bruise and skin, healing use across American farms for generations. One established clump, harvested correctly, replaces close to $200 in yearly ointment purchases. The mistake most growers make is planting Comfrey directly beside vegetable beds. That placement lets its deep roots spread aggressively and overtake the entire garden row. So one properly bordered clump of Comfrey becomes a permanent bruise care salve supply. Most Americans still pay full price for every season, but the next plant on this list is one most people pull as a weed, without ever knowing what they are throwing away. This channel exists for Americans who have spent enough seasons making expensive mistakes they were never warned about. If that is you, subscribe now. Plant number 10, Plantain. A tube of drawing salve costs $12 at a pharmacy, yet this so-called weed grows freely along nearly every American garden path and produces leaf all season long. Picture broad-ribbed green leaves forming a low rosette, tucked quietly along the walkway edge, where nobody thinks to look twice. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun to partial shade. Any soil. Most growers never realize this common lawn plant carries genuine traditional drawing and soothing use, growing in nearly every American yard, already unnoticed. Documented by University Extension monographs, Plantain carried traditional insect, bite and splinter, drawing use across American homesteads for generations. This already growing leaf replaces close to $80 in yearly drawing salve purchases permanently every season. The mistake most people make is pulling and discarding it as a nuisance weed. That habit throws away a genuine remedy standing right in the yard. So one path edge plant most people pull without thinking becomes a permanent drawing salve supply standing quietly in the yard already. But the next herb on this list grows taller than most garden plants, and almost nobody outside serious growers knows which part of it actually holds the traditional value. Plant number 11, Mullein. A box of mullein leaf tea costs $9 for a small supply, yet one biennial rosette grows tall along a fence line and produces enough leaf for years of traditional tea. Picture thick velvet soft silver green leaves rising in a rosette, catching morning light against the weathered garden fence. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun, well-drained soil. Most growers never realize mullein leaf must be strained through fine cloth, since its natural fuzzy hairs cause throat irritation if left in the brew. Documented by University Extension monographs, mullein carried traditional respiratory, supporting use across American homesteads for well over a century. One fence, line rosette, dried and strained correctly, replaces close to $70 in yearly tea purchases. The mistake most growers make is straining through a standard mesh strainer instead of fine cloth. That shortcut leaves irritating hairs behind and ruins the entire batch. So one fence line rosette, strained the right way, becomes a permanent respiratory tea supply most Americans still buy in boxes every month. But the next herb on this list has nearly vanished from modern gardens entirely, even though it once sat in almost every American cough remedy cabinet. Did you believe mullein was just a tall roadside weed? Be honest in the comments. Plant number 12, Horehound. A bag of Horehound cough drops costs $5 for a small tin, yet one established clump produces enough leaf for years of traditional cough syrup and lozenges. Picture deeply wrinkled, gray-green leaves growing low and dense along square stems, tucked quietly near the garden's herb border. Most growers never realize Horehound needs a long, slow simmer to mellow its naturally bitter compounds into a usable syrup. Documented by University Extension monographs, Horehound carried traditional cough and throat, soothing use across American homes since well before pharmacies existed. One established clump, simmered correctly, replaces close to $60 in yearly cough drop purchases. The mistake most growers make is boiling the leaf too fast over high heat. That shortcut leaves the syrup harshly bitter and unusable for its traditional purpose. So one slow simmer turns a single Horehound clump into a permanent cough syrup supply. Most Americans still buy in small tins every season, but the next herb on this list spreads so easily that one planting becomes a permanent, self-renewing supply for decades. What plant, spot, or situation in your yard has defeated every single thing you have tried? Drop it below. Plant number 13, lemon balm. A box of lemon balm tea costs $7 for 20 servings, yet one small planting spreads into a thick mound and produces enough leaf for years of calming tea. Picture bright, crinkled green leaves forming a bushy, low mound, releasing a fresh citrus scent along the garden path. Zones 4 through 9, full sun to partial shade. Well-drained soil. Most growers never realize lemon balm loses much of its fresh traditional character once fully dried, since the leaf performs best used fresh or dried briefly in shade. Documented by University Extension monographs, lemon balm carried traditional calming and digestive use across American kitchen gardens for generations. One established mound replaces close to $80 in yearly calming tea purchases every season. The mistake most growers make is planting lemon balm directly in open garden beds. That choice lets its spreading roots overtake neighboring plants within a year. So one contained mound of lemon balm becomes a permanent calming tea supply most Americans still buy in boxes every month. But the final herb on this list scares most new growers away entirely, even though serious growers consider it the most valuable plant on the whole property. Drop your state in the comments. Your zone changes how aggressively this final plant spreads for you. Plant number 14, stinging nettle. A bag of nettle leaf tea costs $8 for a small supply, yet one dense stand produces enough leaf for an entire year of traditional tea and cooked greens. Picture deeply serrated dark green leaves standing tall and dense along the garden's back edge. Zones 3 through 10, full sun to partial shade, moist, rich soil. Most growers never realize the sting disappears completely once nettle is dried or cooked, since heat and drying neutralize its natural compounds entirely. Documented by University Extension monographs, nettle carried traditional mineral, rich nutritional use across American homesteads for generations. One dense stand, harvested correctly, replaces close to $100 in yearly tea and greens purchases. The mistake most growers make is harvesting bare-handed instead of wearing garden gloves. That oversight causes real skin irritation that gloves prevent entirely. So one dense gloved harvest stand of nettle becomes a permanent mineral-rich tea and greens supply most Americans never realize is growing right there. You just received zone-accurate, dollar-grounded, research-based plant knowledge that most American gardening channels have never put in one place. 3 things about this 14 herb garden that almost no source puts in one place, drawn from 50 years of hands in soil observation across every American growing zone. Elderberry and sage, dried side by side in the same cool space. Both hold their traditional strength longer than when stored separately in different rooms of the house. A full 14 herb apothecary, planted once across the right zones, replaces between $250 and $400 in yearly supplement spending permanently. Calendula, planted near Comfrey, shares soil space efficiently, since one roots shallow and the other roots deep, without ever competing for the same nutrients. This 14-herb garden is not a passing hobby expense. It is a one-time investment that keeps compounding in value every single season it remains in the ground. Here is exactly where to begin, based on your specific growing zone, starting right now. Here is exactly where to begin. Zone to plants to dollar. If you are in zones 3 through 5, start with Elderberry, Feverfew, and Yarrow, three of the hardiest herbs on this entire list, and that single grouping alone replaces close to $500 in combined yearly supplement and salve spending across a typical American household budget. If you are in zones 6 through 9, start with rosemary and sage, two evergreen herbs that establish quickly and reward you within a single full growing season of real, usable harvest. Miss this window, and your first real harvest waits a full year, so plant now while August still gives every one of these 14 herbs enough time to root before the first frost arrives. You just received zone-accurate, dollar-grounded, research-based plant knowledge that most American gardening channels have never managed to put together in one single place. Start to finish. If this video gave you even one herb you had never seriously considered growing before, hit like right now. Drop your state and your exact growing zone in the comments below, and tell me honestly which of these 14 herbs you are planting first this August. Subscribe to Natural Verge, because the plants your great-grandmother knew are still out there, and we find them every single week for growers exactly like you.